NBN, Shannon here from I Cook You Serve. I'm joined today with Bob Allen from Sollus Healthcare. So thank you for joining us today, Bob.
That's not a problem, Shannon. Good to be here.
So Bob's business started in 2008 and he was a massage therapist. And then in 2011, Sollus Healthcare was created and Bob is an osteopath and massage therapist. So how did you get into osteopathy?
Oh, that goes back a long way. I mean, basically, what happened was I did a degree many years ago in applied biology, left university, and then decided that I didn't want to be an applied biologist and looked around for what I could do, and ended up in IT.
Okay.
So I was in IT for quite a few years. The job changed. I didn't like the job very much, and then looked around for something else that I could do. So kind of around that time, took my son to an osteopath, got interested in osteopathy, because I'd never heard of it before then, got interested in osteopathy, and it kind of went from there, really. The job got worse. I decided that I really didn't want to do it anymore. So sat down, had a chat with the family, and said, this is what I want to do, and osteopathy was it. They said, yeah, okay. I had to explain that it was part-time, 5 years, weekends, and a couple of week courses as well. And yeah, they said, yeah, go for it. You're obviously not enjoying your job.
Yeah.
Get out there and do something you actually want to do. So that's how it started in 2007.
Oh, wonderful. So the massage therapy business ran alongside your degree?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I left the IT job and I needed to get some money coming in. So I took a diploma in massage therapy and I worked as a dyslexia support tutor as well. So that funded the remaining few years of the course.
Wow. Well, talk about diving in with both feet. I think that is an absolutely brilliant way to start a business and just completely get started. So yeah, that's great. So for the members of NBN, just explain a little bit about what osteopathy is.
Right, osteopathy is one of those things that when you tell people you're an osteopath, they go, what do they do? And then they tend to make signs with their hands and that sort of thing. And yeah, it's kind of like that. So osteopathy started by an American in 1874, by a guy called Andrew Taylor Still. He was a frontier physician and doctor around the Civil War time. Basically, things that they used to do in those days tended to kill as many people as they could. So they were injecting them with mercury and all kinds of bizarre things.
Okay.
Understandably, lots of people didn't quite make it. So he was an inventor. He was a physician. He was an anatomist. He knew the anatomy inside out. So he then thought, this approach isn't working. So what I need to do is to find a way that actually makes people better. So he then went away, studied even more anatomy, and he kind of put together this system which he called osteopathy, which basically it's mobilizations, there's some massage in there, there's one of the things we have to know is we have to know an awful lot about anatomy, improving blood flow, reducing inflammation, all those sorts of things. So he put all that together, and then it came to the UK in 1917 by a guy called Andrew Littlejohn. He set up an academy, started teaching people, and it kind of came from there. So there's around 5,000 osteopaths in the UK now. And like I said, it's a very kind of broad church. It's not just bones. We have to understand about anatomy, the hormonal system, nervous system, circulatory system, you name it. We then put all that together. So if there is a problem, we can work out what's causing that problem and then how to resolve it. So, you know, you go and see an osteopath, you go and see an osteopath with, say, knee pain.
Yes.
We'll look at the knee, we'll look at the ankle, we'll look at the hip, potentially the low back as well, because all of those things can be involved. So osteopathy is kind of, I hate to use the word holistic because I think that's a little bit cliche, but it genuinely is looking at all the body systems to work out what's going on. And how we can resolve it. And if we can't resolve it with osteopathy, we'll find some, we can refer back to someone else that can help. So there you go.
Well, I think that that really explains osteopathy really well. But I want to discuss the level of work that you work at, because you say refer back, but you're talking about doctors, you're talking about quite serious people. You're not just like a random therapist. Osteopathy actually is something that is really highly recognized. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that people don't understand is how in depth we go into the body. So, yeah, mentioning somebody like a GP, for example, GPs will do, I think it's up to a 7-year degree course,
Yeah.
and then they become junior doctors, and then they leave hospital, then they go out and specialise. So in that 7 years, they might do 2 or 3 weeks of the stuff that we do, the musculoskeletal side of things, the joints and muscles and
Brilliant.
anatomy, and of that time they might spend a week of that on osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, those things, and maybe a week in their 7 years of actually looking at the body and how the systems fit together. What we have to do, we spend 5 years doing pretty much what they do in a couple of weeks. Yes, they are, because they're general practitioners. What they do is they look at they apply kind of a filter to what goes on. They'll look at serious conditions, they'll look at the less serious stuff, and as they filter things through, eventually that person may end up with a physiotherapist to apply exercise and that sort of thing. What we have to be able to do is we have to also be able to diagnose really serious conditions. And if we get somebody, and I have had somebody who has had cancer, I have to be able to identify, well, okay, that's not appropriate for me. You need to go back to your GP, get an X-ray, and they did, and it turned out that it was cancer.
Gosh.
So we have to be very highly trained. So even though, no, I'm not going to treat those sorts of conditions or kidney issues, that sort of thing, I need to know enough about the medical side of things to be able to refer people on.
Yeah. So I really like that it is a very serious medical role, if that's an appropriate term. I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
as an osteopath, you have to be part of the general osteopathic council. I knew
Yes.
I would get that wrong. um,
Most people do. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. So within that, you have to do a certain amount of levels of continued professional development. So tell us a
Yeah.
bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that when you graduate, you have to register with the General Osteopathic Council, and you have to re-register every year. Um, if you're not registered with the Osteopathic Council, you cannot call yourself an osteopath because it's a protected title.
Okay.
So to register with the Osteopathic Council, we have to do 30 hours of continuous professional development every year. And the idea behind that is that we have to go off and we have to be self-motivated and go out, look at the research, look at the technology, because things change all the time.
Yes.
So things that, things that were valid medical approaches 5, 10 years ago are not now. And what we have to do is we have to keep up to date with all of that. So hence the continued professional development. So we're always as up to date as we can be with different treatment approaches, particularly because a lot of people I see come in with, they're taking painkillers, for example, they'll take anti-inflammatories, but they don't always understand why. So things that were around a few years ago, things like naproxen or ibuprofen, in the short term, they work really well. In the longer term, what they've found is that they can cause other problems. Now, we need to be aware of that. So if somebody comes in that say, yeah, I'm taking this painkiller, I'm taking that medication, we have to be able to say to them, well, actually, yeah, that was fine a year ago, but now research has shown that it's not so good. So go back to your GP, have a word, and see if they're still recommending that. So
Yeah.
yeah, CPD, very important.
Wonderful. I think everyone in the MBN group can appreciate running a business takes a lot of time, and adding 30 hours of continued professional development on top of that, that is not something just to kind of blink away at or shrug off. Like, that is quite a serious amount of time that you have to put in to your business on top of running your business and being a part of your business. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Okay.
Something else I wanted to discuss with you, moving away from osteopathy, is your business name. So your business is Sollus Healthcare. Where did you come up with a business name?
Yeah, Sollus Healthcare. It took a while, shall we say, and yeah. So basically, what a lot of people do in my profession is they'll call themselves Bob Allen Osteopathy or Fred Blogs Physiotherapy or whatever it is, and I didn't want to do that because yes, I'm an osteopath, but when I started at Sollus Healthcare, it was always about being so much more than that. So the Solus is Latin for total, and the
Nice.
healthcare is obvious. So it was all about total healthcare because as well as osteopathy, as you know, I've done an Otago course, strength and conditioning course. I've added shockwave therapy is a new one that's coming along, and it's all about evolving and growing the business because ultimately what I want is kind of like a one-stop shop. So whatever medical issues you have, you can come to Sollus Healthcare, which will hopefully be more than me, and then yeah, whatever the issue is, I can point you in the right direction. So it will be something that's part of my business, or we can then refer you out to someone else. But yeah, it was always about being more than just an osteopath.
Nice. Well, let's dive into that because you are, as you mentioned, a strength and flexibility coach. So, how did you get into strength and flexibility? You qualified in that 2018, so that's
Yeah,
quite recent.
it is quite recent. Yeah, I mean, again, it's the thing about osteopathy is that it's quite all encompassing. It's kind of whatever you want to make it. So you do your basic grounding for 5 years, and then what people do is they tend to go off and they tend to specialise in different areas. I
Yes.
mean, for me, one of the things that I do as part of my treatment is that I give people exercises to do because they see me for 45 minutes, depending on what stage of treatment they are, maybe a week or a fortnight or a month. But in that other time, they've got all that time that they can be helping themselves. So one of my philosophy is that I can do my bit, but you
Yes.
kind of have to do yours as well. And it's about getting them involved in getting better. So I don't do stuff to people. We kind of on a journey.
Yeah.
So we're kind of going through it together. So giving them exercises is a good way of getting them to be involved
Yeah.
in their injury and helping themselves and empowering them to get better. So, but part of the degree course didn't really involve much in the way of exercise therapy. So what I did was I thought because it's quite a big part of what I do, I'll go off and get a certificate and learn how to do it properly. So,
Wonderful.
so that so that's what I did.
Excellent. So, with the strength and flexibility, is it just with the exercises that you like provide for your clients? And I love that there's a real empowerment element to your business. I think it's really
Yeah,
important that people get involved in looking after themselves at the end of the day.
yeah,
Um, so, the strength and flexibility is related to the exercises, but is there another element to it?
yeah. I mean, so part of it. So part of what I do as part of my treatment is that I'll give people exercises to do, and they'll go away and hopefully do them, and they'll get better. But also, it's kind of there's a standalone element to it as well.
Yes.
So as well as treating my clients, what I also do is I offer that to people that kind of who aren't my clients, but they want to get fitter and healthier. I mean, the image that I want to avoid is the whole Love Island six pack, big bicep, all that sort of thing
Yeah.
because most people don't actually want to look like. Well, actually, most people do want to look like that, but most people can't and never will. So I'd rather take my typical client in their 40s and 50s who probably don't want to look like Love Island contestants, and actually just give them exercises to do that will help them move better, be a little bit stronger. So if they want to play football with the kids, they don't get out of breath kicking the ball around, they don't
Yeah.
injure themselves, that sort of thing. So that's kind of where I come from with that. I mean, one of my clients, he ran in the original London Marathon. He's
Wow.
now in his 60s, and he wanted to run in the London Marathon, which has just been cancelled.
Yes.
And so what we did was we put together a program to help him get back into condition to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where the strength and flexibility side of it is.
Wow, I think that's such a nice thing to be a part of. I think client journeys are always really nice to be a part of, and day to day helping people with kind of aches and pains and the more serious conditions that you work with people must be really nice. But actually, helping someone get to achieve a goal that they want to, like rerunning the London Marathon, yeah, that's really brilliant. So another thing that you are qualified in is an Otago program. So tell us a bit more about that.
Right. Again, it all kind of fits in with my philosophy of helping people to help themselves to get better. The Otago side of things is it's an exercise-based program, but so it was originally Otago doesn't actually stand for anything.
Okay,
Otago is a place in New Zealand,
nice.
so it came from New Zealand. It's an evidence-based exercise program. It's originally targeted for the older clients, so we're talking about people in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yes.
And the idea behind it is that the fitter and healthier they are in terms of it's balance and strength. So one of the bigger issues when you hit your 70s and 80s is unless you practice um, every day, your balance tends to get worse. So this is one of the reasons why older people are more prone to fall. And if they fall, injure a hip, whatever it is,
Yes.
or have a fear of falling if they've already done that. So the idea behind Otago is it's a 12 exercise program, like I said, strength and balance, and it's been proven that if you get the older clients to go through the program, they fall less, they feel a lot better and a lot healthier, and they will potentially live longer as a result of that. So that's the Otago side of things. But what I've also found is that it's great for younger clients who just ain't fit. They haven't been to the gym, they don't go out and do anything. So, but it's a really nice, gentle way of getting them into exercise that they can do at home. And then once they've done that, they can then hopefully, ramp that up to something that's a bit more demanding. So yeah, there's kind of two strands to it. But I was just about to get that side of things set up, and then COVID happened, and we all got locked down, and it stopped.
Well, I think COVID has really affected so many businesses, but
Yeah.
because your job is so physical, it's very hands-on with what you do. Um, you've had to do your client meetings online. So tell us a bit about how that's gone.
Yeah, I mean that's actually gone quite well. You say I know you say that what I do is quite physical, and when the lockdown first happened, I struggled with well, okay, what I do is very hands-on, it's very physical. How can I still help and treat people? And I thought, well, actually, I can't because I can't get to them, and therefore I can't treat them.
Okay.
But once the panic had got out of the way, I sat down and thought, well, actually, a significant part of the treatment process is the understanding what the problem is and develop and helping people to understand why they're in pain,
Yes.
and then there's a bit of hands-on at the end. But actually, that's a fairly small part of the treatment process. So that element of it of the talking to people, helping them to understand why they're in pain and what I can do to help them, is the majority of treatment, and then there may be some hands-on towards the end.
Okay. Oh, that's
But
good to
what
know for the members.
Yeah, but what I can do is rather than doing the hands-on, I can provide targeted exercises because once I know what the problem is, I can give them exercises to do that will address those problems. Um, Occasionally, a hands-on approach would be better and potentially quicker, but I've found that I've had people that have had severe low back pain, for example, but once I've talked to them, I've understood why they're in pain. I can give them exercises and advice that helps to resolve it, and it works really, really well. So yeah, even when lockdown is over, I'll still do some online stuff because the advantage of being online is the fact that there's no geographical limit to it. So yes, I had a client in New York and various other parts of the country. So yeah, it works really well.
Excellent. Well, that's really good news. So
Hmm.
you mentioned lower back pain, but what are the other typical things that people come to see you for?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mentioned low back pain because as an osteopath, that's what people associate us with.
Yes.
But because of that very fact, I've looked at my stats over the last couple of months to see what I've been treating, and a lot. And I'd say top of the list was neck and shoulder pain,
Okay.
and back pain was fourth on the list. So I had neck, shoulders, hips, and knees have all been above low back. Now, whether that's because most people are now working from home, so they're spending a lot more time either sat on the sofa watching the TV or doing this really, doing Zoom calls, for example. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but neck and shoulders seems to be the priority these days.
Oh, well, that's really good to know. And if anyone in the group has any issues, we've got our very own osteopath to help us out. So thank you for joining us today. One final question is, how can people get in touch?
Yeah, a variety of ways to get in touch. Really, you can either contact me through any of the social media outlets or go via the website because there's an online booking form on the website in very big letters and numbers, so you can easily find me.
Wonderful. Well, I will pop that link above. So thank you very much for joining us today, and
Thank you for
take
having me.
care.
Thank you very much, Shannon.